on. Yes. Are you with me? Let me know if you are with me. It's Popsan here. Again, we have been without the company of each other for such a long time. It seems like a long time to me. And I'm so happy to be with the Women Healing Together family here on our YouTube channel. Yes, yes, yes. And also on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being here. The curtains are up. Season 2 has officially begun, and you are here with us. Season 2 of Talk Truth, courtesy of Women Healing Together in partnership with the LAX Society. Again, so happy to have you. Welcome to Talk Truth. This is your safe space and your safe place where we tackle the issue of childhood sexual abuse and help women on their road of healing, on their journey of healing. Because as I always say, we heal so much better when we heal together. No, before I go any further, I have to give a shout out. I have to give shout outs. I have to give big ups, as we would say in Jamaica. I have to give commendation for every single person who has journeyed with us from the beginning. And today, as we were preparing and talking, preparing for you because we want to give you quality and we want you to be with us as we journey together. I thought about the first episode of Talk Truth. Do you remember? No. If you are here on YouTube, and you should be on YouTube right now or on our Facebook page. If you have been here from the very beginning, from January 29, 2020, our very first episode of Talk Truth, please put back. put in the channel, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Put that right now in the comments. I'm back. Or just put the word returning. Just put that. And if you are not returning, this is your very first time, put those comments in the chat. People, my people, my people. If this is your first time, however, you are new to Talk Truth, you are new to Women Healing Together, put newbie, and you fall in love with us so quickly that you will not want to go anywhere. So if you are returning, put returning. And if you are new to Women Healing Together, please put new. Yes, I see the comments coming in. Hi, Shay. Hi, Deidria. I see my husband saying returning. So happy to have you, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'm saying us because you're seeing me alone tonight, but I'm not going to be the only one here. And in fact, you're here with me. We are a community of women, a community of supporters. Even if you're a man, thank you so much for coming because you play a part in the healing journey. Now, season 2 is here, and it's going to be bigger and it's going to be better. And let me tell you why. In season 1, starting out on my personal Facebook page, and I have been praying and asking the Lord, this needs to expand because there are women out there who will not necessarily find my Facebook page. How can we get it out there? And I'm so happy that we are on YouTube for everybody. And this season is going to be absolutely fantastic. We have put a lot of plan into it, my creative committee members and I, producers. We have gotten feedback of women all over the world. We have got input of psychologists and people just all over, just excited about what we're doing here at Women Healing Together, and specifically our live talk show, Talk Truth. Now, listen to this. Listen to this right now. Listen up. Listen. If you have not shared this, you need to share it right now. If you have not subscribed to the channel, you need to subscribe right now. You need to hit that notification bell because there is a woman, there is a sister, there is a friend who is actually right now looking for a word of hope, looking for a word of comfort. She is believing that she cannot survive the trauma that the abuse has had on her or is having on her, and she's depending on you to share. And maybe you're depending on you to just hit that subscribe bell. For this season, let me just give you an overview of all the nice things that are happening here at Talk Truth. So as I said, you were accustomed to listening to me, and thank you for listening to me for 16 episodes. But we want to spice things up a bit. We are going to be having clinical psychologists coming in. We're going to be having psychologists. We're going to be having social workers coming in, persons in the mental health field, the mental health profession, women who are, even men who are able to help you work through issues about recovering and healing the brain. And guess what? There are women all over, believe you me when I say it, who are calling, who are emailing, who are saying, Popsan, I want to be on Talk Truth. I have watched episode 1. I am now invigorated, I'm now strengthened, and I am tired of being silent. There are women who are contacting me and they're saying, I want to share my story of healing so I can help other sisters. So stay tuned. If you are a newbie, please, we are here the first and the third Wednesday of each month, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's get the ball rolling. This evening, our topic is my story or story. My story is our story, and your story is our story. So let's get right into it. Again, thank you so much for season 2 and for joining us. There is a pandemic happening in the world, and this pandemic is not recent like the coronavirus or the COVID-19. This pandemic is not the homicide rate that is wreaking havoc around the world. These things are serious and they must be given attention, most definitely. But for this evening, I want to bring your attention to this pandemic that has been plaguing our world, I would say, from the beginning of time, for centuries, for millennia, for decades, for years. And this is the pandemic of sexual abuse among children. And our focus here on Talk Truth, as we say, is a safe space and a safe place where we tackle the issue of childhood sexual abuse. Our focus is really on women. Women who have experienced childhood sexual trauma, who have grappled, who have crawled, who are struggling, who have struggled in childhood to make sense of what has happened. They have struggled through teenage years, young adult years. Now we are women, and we are brought face to face with the devastating effects that the experience of childhood trauma, sexual trauma specifically, has had on us. And we are saying we need healing. We need to be resurrected, as it were. This is the pandemic that so many women are facing. In fact, it is such a great pandemic. It is such a great pandemic and a devastating pandemic that the International Women's Development Agency actually tells us that 50% of girls under the age of 16 have been sexually assaulted. If that resonated with you just now, I want you to type 50 in the comments, because I want it to sink in. If you heard what I just said, my sisters, my supporters, Women Healing Together family, Talk Truth family, if you just heard that very frightening comment or that very frightening statistic, please put 50 in the comment section. Comment 50%. And if you're like, 50%, that's not bad. It is excruciatingly bad, and let me tell you why. If I had a friend sitting here with me this evening, it would mean, yes, Kim, I see you're 50, yes, right? If I had a friend sitting beside me this evening, it would mean that one of us would have been sexually assaulted as a child by the time we reach 16 years old. And if that doesn't sink in, let me go a little further so we understand that this pandemic needs to be addressed. If a mother and a daughter are walking down the street and you look through your window and you see a mom and a daughter walking down the street, it means that either that mother or that daughter would have been sexually assaulted before she was 16 years old. And I remember posting the statistics on my Instagram page and my Facebook page. And one of my friends, one of the ladies who follows me, she didn't just look at the status. She didn't just look at the post. She actually messaged me and she said, "Oh my word, is it that terrible?" And I think so many times when we hear of childhood sexual abuse, especially in the context of the Me Too movement, we say, "Oh, it's just another woman. Oh, why is she talking? No. Why is it important? Get over it. It happened years ago." But when you look at 50%, if you have two girls, are you saying, the statistics is actually saying that if you have two girls, that it's possible that one of your daughters can be abused before she becomes 16 years old. And if that is not alarming, I don't know what is. And as we have said, this is my story. I am one of that girl out of two. I represent that 50%. And I know that there are so many women out there who represent that 50%. And that is why Talk Truth is so important. That is why Women Healing Together is so important. You may see a young lady, nice, beautiful lipstick, head wrapped in green, and she's flashing that smile. And you say, "Oh, she's so beautiful." You may see another young lady and she speaks eloquent, and you say, "Oh, she's so eloquent, she's so brilliant, she's so successful." But from experience, from my story, I can share with you this evening that I too have flashed that smile. I too have spoken eloquently. I too have put on nice clothes and nice shoes. But when the eyes of the world are gone to sleep and I'm in my own private space, I am miserable. And if you can resonate with that, even if you are not sexually abused, but as a woman, if you can identify the pain of looking pretty on the outside to the world, but when you are by yourself, you feel broken and you feel wounded and you are brought face to face with the pain and the trauma, I want you right now to just type in the comments and say, "Not alone." Not alone. Because guess what? The more we comment, the more we talk, the more we interact, we are saying to women, you are not alone. We are in this thing together. That is what it's all about. And that is why we're here. So, a little bit about my story of feeling alone and the intent. It is not to have a pity party. It is not to evoke strong emotions. It is to share because we are in this together. So I smile because my years before 6 years old was a paradise of innocence. I grew up in Central Village, Spanish Town. My early years, as I always say to people, I'm a ghetto girl. I am not afraid of where I'm coming from. I'm not afraid of my poor background. I'm not afraid to share it because it makes me who I am today. So picture this little red skin pitney, as we'd say in Jamaica, being born in Spanish Town on a Tuesday afternoon, being brought home, right, in the arms of her teenage mother, who was confused about how is she going to grow a child at this tender age, right? And I was brought home to my grandmother. Don't remember her, but I've heard so many things. Shout out to all the grandmothers who hold it down and help the teenage mothers just carry things forward. And my mother brought me home. Long story short, soon after I was living in a nuclear family with my mom and my dad. I being the only child within that family. And it was utopia. I remember Sunday evenings going on the bicycle to every football match with my dad. I remember knowing that I am going to be gifted with a nice scoop of ice cream cone. You know, those of us from Jamaica and even around the world, you hear that little ice cream truck coming and you know it's ice cream time. I remember going to the river, the Rio Kobe River in Central Village. It was beautiful. I was sheltered. I was protected. I was little Popsy. Some of them actually called me Munga. Can you believe that? It was beautiful. And then my life changed at about 5, 6 years old when my mother decided I cannot stay in this relationship that's not healthy for me. So she moved out. At that time, my little sister was born, and we moved to another community in Central Village. And that's when my world turned upside down. That was my first encounter of childhood sexual abuse. And we keep silent. And I say we keep silent because my mother did not know about that initial encounter until a few months ago. I had never expressed it to anybody at all. I kept that in my mind. And there are so many women like myself, my story, our story, who at a very tender age, we were thrust into a realm of sexuality that we were not prepared for. And this victimization is usually brought about by persons with whom we are supposed to be close, family, friends, and family members. And I would be relieved this evening to share with you that that was the only encounter, a one-time thing, and it's off and it's done. But that was just the beginning. Because soon after, I was victimized by a stepfather. And simultaneously, or within the same period, when I was at my house, I was being victimized by a stepfather. And then there was a family friend's house that was once my escape. Then I was being victimized there. So the two houses are the two places where I thought I could have found security and healing and protection and shelter. They were like a scary movie to me. And I remember at 8 years old, having had enough. And I related this story. And for those of you who are new, I want to share it with you. I had had enough. I remember that Sunday evening when my mother gave me this dish to bring to that stepfather. And in my little 8, 9, thereabout year-old mind, I said, I cannot live like this anymore. And I remember just shouting out, I'm going to tell my mommy, I'm going to tell my mommy. And if anybody watching knows my mommy is not an easy woman, she don't play. I remember her coming out of the kitchen and said, what is it in frantic voice? What's happening? What's happening? And I just spilled everything to her. And for years, I was angry with my mom. But as I got older and I realized the heroic thing that my mom did on that Sunday afternoon, that was the last time that that man was in the house. My mom threw him out immediately. And there are some mothers who would not do that. I know of situations of mothers who would allow that man to stay in the house and to further facilitate the victimization of that child. But I want to big up my mom right now for just protecting me the best way she could when she found out what was happening. But it would be great if that was the end of the story. And Popson is a great girl and she's fascinating and everything is closed and everything is wonderful. But there are effects that follow. There are effects mentally, there are effects emotionally. And there are some women now who are listening and you can resonate with me. You can understand because my story is our story. My mom used to beat me. All right, so there's a question coming in and the question is, how did you get to this point of sharing your story? And I'm definitely going to answer that question. Definitely going to answer. The effects of childhood sexual abuse lingers far after the act or the view or the touch has passed or they have passed. Because I remember as a teenager using my academics to cover my pain in Jamaica would say if it's red, you're in the egg or something like that. I don't even know how that come about, but I was in everything. I remember going to school early and staying late. Most of my time was spent at St. Jago High School. Every single club, every single activity. And as I grew older and I looked back, I realized that that was me suppressing and repressing because as a child, I could not deal with it. And the can of worms were open for me when I became an adult and I got married. And I realized that, whoa, this thing is affecting me. The insecurity, the rage, the shame, the anger. I thought, and I know that so many women right now are thinking, if I can just shut up, then it will go away. If I can just not talk about it, then it's going to go away. But how are we suffering? How are we suffering in the midst of our silence? And for mothers, how is your daughter suffering in the midst of your silence? How are we allowing the perpetuation of abuse to continue because we refuse to speak? And that is why we have called this show Talk Truth. We have to talk our truth, because when we talk our truth, healing begins. Not just healing for ourselves, but healing for others. So the big question tonight is, how did I get to a point where I can share my story openly? It didn't come overnight. I thought that if I remained quiet, if nobody knew being a pastor's wife, if nobody knew being a teacher, if nobody knew, then it would somehow go away while I was rotting on the inside. And when we talk about rotting, I want to share an analogy with you as I share how I reached to the point where I began to share my story. And please ask the questions. Let it be interactive. Let us see how best we can support each other. So I literally went in my kitchen and I took a bowl and I went in my compost bag and I threw some of the garbage in this bowl. I have egg trash, or the shell of the egg. I have orange, kiwi. I have even an apple that I cut in two that is moldy right now. These fruits that have now become garbage, as some people would say, were once nice oranges displayed on a supermarket shelf or in your kitchen, where everybody saw the great potential. I want to buy that orange. I want to have the nutrients of that orange. And these fruits, before they became this state, represents us as little girls, full of innocence and color and vibrancy. And we believe that the world had no bad in it. And we are going to be protected by those we love. And the men and the women in our lives would have protected us and just sheltered us. But then we're brought face to face with the devastation that we are used, abused, and victimized. And then like this, person see it as garbage. Look at the container, it's transparent. And as children, we reflect what we have been given. Society seeing this thing in us, this trauma and this pain and this experience of abuse, says to us, cover it up. Nobody needs to know. It's the family secret. You caused it. It's your fault. If you didn't wear the short skirt or the short dress, it would not have happened. You're too feisty. Society says cover it up. Your mom or your father could have said to you, cover it up. Nobody needs to know. But here on Talk Truth, we're saying we're not covering it. We are uncovering it. And initially, the scent might be unpleasant, and the talk may be unpleasant. And we don't want to see the mold that has just accumulated over the years. But we're uncovering. And we're not just uncovering, but we are going to use what has been broken and what has been a life of devastation for so many of us, and we're going to turn this into compost. We're going to put it in the soil of our experiences. We're going to put it in the soil of the strength that we have been given by God. And we are going to allow them to grow into beauty. We are going to turn our ashes into beauty. We're going to turn our experience of abuse into stories that are life changing, that women all over the world in your sphere of influence will no longer see this. They will see the beautiful tree blossoming. And when they say to you, how did you reach here? You bring them back to the story. Because our story, my story, it's all our stories. How did I move from this to what you're seeing for Women Healing Together and Talk Truth? It has been a journey, and it has not been an easy journey. The journey started with me going through the phase of rebellion as a teenager. It started with me suppressing and repressing and feeling guilty. And why am I starting the journey here? Because there are so many women who are at this stage and at this phase. Are you expecting me to come and say, oh, I got counseling, and then no. It starts with the guilt and the shame and those feelings and those mindsets that we do not want to sometimes acknowledge. It started there. And it was out of the frustration and the pain that I started talking. I remember having this uncanny ability, and I still have it, to recognize a young lady who has been sexually abused. I still have it. And I remember being in biology class and talking to one of my classmates at St. Jago. And I just started sharing my story for the first time. I shared with someone other than myself. And I remember sitting on that stool in the biology lab at St. Jake, and I was talking to my friend. And she said, I didn't know that happened. You know, it happened to me. And those little baby steps of sharing with a one-on-one, just a one-on-one. My journey continued. My healing story continued with my husband that has played a tremendous role in my healing. Trust me. He got all the rage. He got the insecurity. He got all sorts of foolishness. All of the raw wounds was poured on him. Because before I had the academics, before I had the public speaking, I had the JCDC, I had the debate, I had the this, I had the that. I even had the spirituality to cover it. But when I was brought in intimacy with my husband, whether it be sexually or just us having deep conversations and the stench came off, he was so patient. And the icing to the cake was last year when I was invited to be a guest speaker at a women's retreat. And I was asked to share my story under the theme, Still Standing. And the Holy Spirit directed me to share openly, publicly about my experience. And I've never turned back since. Is it uncomfortable, especially when I just started? Hell yes. Was I concerned about what other people would think? Oh, yes. But I decided to forge on anyway. My story is not just my story. It's our story. And I want you to type in that comment right now, our story. Because as we create our stories together, and as we recount our journey of healing together, I want you to remember that Talk Truth is your safe space and your safe place where we tackle the issue of childhood sexual abuse as we continue our healing. We're wrapping it up this evening. And if you have not gotten anything, there's a question. How are you able to fall in love while hurting? We are almost at the end, but I'm going to answer this question. Many times when we think about falling in love, we think about that happy flower feeling, yeah, I'm head over heels with him. But falling in love for me came as a result of meeting a young man who was about 16 years old, who allowed me to be safe. In all my life, I felt safe when I met my husband when he was 16 years old. Because the issue is not really falling in love. The issue is about security. The issue is about feeling comfortable to share who you are and what you have been. So as I was getting to know my husband, and I think that is the context in which you are asking, Roxanne, as I began to know my husband and as I began to feel secure, I was able to uncover Popsan. I was able to uncover Popsan and I was able to share Popsan. And that is how I began to heal while I fell in love. If there are any other questions, they're coming up on screen right now because I don't want to leave without answering your questions. I know you have questions about my story. There's a comment coming from YouTube. I know that one of the greatest struggles for an abused woman is to talk her truth. Is there any way to heal without self-disclosure? Again, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. There are some persons who will never come on a public forum and share, and that is okay. And that's fine. But we have to become comfortable, first of all, with ourselves. We have to reach a stage, and I see people from Facebook and YouTube saying, it's our story, ladies, it's our story. Even if you don't come out and you don't share publicly, you have to reach to a stage where you are able to look yourself in the mirror and to admit that this has happened. To acknowledge that I have been abused sexually, emotionally. Because once we're living in denial, there's no way that we can move forward. Any more questions? I hope that answers the question. Any more questions coming out as we wrap up today? Yes, all right. So we have 4 more questions. Go ahead as we wrap up this evening. So Tanisha from YouTube is saying, we cannot be our true selves until we peel back the layers. That is correct. Think about an onion. As a teacher of literature, I can't help but use analogies and symbolism. That onion is on the table. You don't smell the pungency until you begin to unravel the layers, peel back the layers. And that is where you find the beauty and the potence of the onion. And so many of us, metaphorically speaking, we're onions. The scent, there's some persons who are going to be saying, why is she sharing? That's something private. She shouldn't be talking about that. The scent of the onion, the pungency of the onion will cause some people to cry. It will cause some people to feel as if you should be sharing. But at the end of the day, at least from my perspective, onion is one of the most beautiful flavors. It's one of the most beautiful flavors. Thank you so much for that, Tanisha. Any other comments, any other question as we close it off this evening? Oh, from WhatsApp. What advice do you have for girls who haven't spoken out yet? My advice is one step at a time. There is no rush. My story or how my story unfold may not be the way your story unfolds. There is no rush. My first encounter of abuse was when I was 5, 6 years old. Today I'm 31. That's years. I'm not good at math, but do the math. Years. So take it at the pace that you can manage. There's no rush to share publicly, but your life depends on you acknowledging that it has happened and how you can move forward. We have 2 more questions from our Talk Truth community. Bring them on. I see them coming. I love Howard is like, I love onions. Me too. Yes, thank you so much, Howard. Yes. All right. Do we have any more questions coming in? I think I saw 2 more. All right. Roxanne says, does the passing of time means the abuser should be released? Who? What a question. What a question. That is like a whole nother episode in and of itself, Roxanne. Because what I've come to realize is that my healing is not dependent on the abuser. My desire to heal is for Popsan. Your desire to heal should be for you. You, my sister who is watching. Forgiveness, it is possible and it is a part of healing. But I always say to women, begin with you. Deal with you. Because guess what? The abuser may be long and gone and enjoying themselves and maybe even forget. Some of them are in denial when you bring it up. They're like, who, me? I did that. I had that encounter with one of my abusers when I confronted him. He denies it up to this day. Can I then continue to live my life in the prison of his denial of what happened? No. I have to forge forward to get my healing because my daughter and my son and my sisters who are part of the Women Healing Together family, they're depending on me. And my quality of life is dependent upon me, not on the abuser. Kim says, trust the healing process. Donald says that's an amazing response. And it's not just a response, it's the truth. And it's not something that's just rehearsed. It cannot, our healing cannot be dependent on the perpetrator. We are over time. Final question. But I don't want to leave you hanging, right? I have to answer these questions because we're in it together. So the last question, how can we connect with you for future episodes? All right, so this is a nice way for us to close off this evening. We're going to be on YouTube, Women Healing Together channel. We're going to be here the first and third Wednesday of each month. So we are back on the 18th of November. You can also contact us on Instagram, Women Healing Together. There's also our Facebook page at Women Healing Together. And there's also our email address, womenhealingtogether@gmail.com. But for future episodes, look out on these social media platforms for the links, for the promo. And when you see them, do not keep them to yourself. Let us share. And as we sign out today, my sisters, my lovelies, my Talk Truth family, my Women Healing Together family, we heal so much better when we heal together. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for being here. Love you all, and I'll see you in a little while. Take care, guys, and thank you for joining us this evening. Bye. Talk the truth because the truth will definitely set you free. See you soon.